think events, certainly pre-pandemic, so even more so post-pandemic, will play an absolutely critical role in the recovery of the sector, and let alone individual businesses as well. Um, Post-pandemic, I think it's critical to understand that hotels will not be able to enjoy the business levels that they had pre-pandemic, most certainly, without events. I think that's a statement of fact, and I think that needs to be understood undoubtedly. We need to accept the fact that events draw, depending on the size of the events, they draw in a significant number of delegates or visitors into the city, and the ancillary expenses that come on the back of that is what will help our recovery. So I can't stress enough the importance of them in the recovery. So it's a wonderful question, purely because I think that if ever was a better time to remind businesses that ultimately we, especially as an industry, are all about people. As the phrase goes, it's ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. The last, particularly 6 months, have reminded individuals that the foundations to attract and retain members of staff must have been laid way before that. So you cannot just wake up in the morning and say, I'm short of staff, so let me just reinvent my work culture to be able to attract and retain. What I mean by that, we at Edwardian Hotels were on the journey of improving conditions and making this an industry which people can say is more of a career rather than a job, in the form of, to give an example, our back of house areas are certainly at par with the amazing facilities that you see here, that our guests enjoy. You would have a canteen that serves breakfast, lunch, dinner, 3-course meals, hot cooked food late at night for the members of staff who work late. We have fairly quite relaxed ambience in our back of house areas. Of course, there are members of staff who are there to clean the areas regularly. That's something which is extremely important of lately. And these are, I suppose you could call it, the hard tools that we have put in place to ensure that the hard work that goes in our industry, particularly if you look at roles which traditionally would have been perhaps seen with a different set of eyes, today are the backbone of your hotel, a la room attendants. It's an extremely laborious job, so we pay an acute amount of importance to ensure that they get a balanced meal in the afternoon and in the evening. So not only to them, of course, to all members of staff, meals are free. That's one thing. In addition to that, I think constant communication over the course of last 18 months has been vital to ensure the anxiety, the mental health, etc. of members of staff is put at ease. So communication all the way from our managing director and other senior leaders of the organization is open every Mondays and Wednesdays to all members of staff across the organization. And that, I think, is extremely powerful. Powerful because it allows everybody to know what are the sentiments in the organization, how safe they are, how welcome they are, and all the other things that goes around to resolve mental health, particularly of individuals. So we also, like I mentioned to you, pay an acute amount of importance to ensuring that members of staff have all the right tools, and I mean hard tools and soft tools, within their capabilities and requirements, to ensure that they've actually survive and flourish in the current onslaught or storm of high demand, low demand, because there are far too many peaks and troughs that we are experiencing as part of the recovery. So those are some of the steps that we have put in, not only to attract new talent, but also to retain the existing talent. We take it as an immense pride for us to be able to say that we are the custodians of the Free Trade Hall. For those of you who know the history of the Free Trade Hall, it's a building that came into existence mid 1800s as a commemoration to sort of move forward from a very turbulent episode that happened on the site over here of the Peterloo massacre. Take fast forward, a few years after which the building was constructed. It has housed since then some of the most world-renowned leaders, not only leaders in their own sphere. It had musical celebrities to politicians to pretty much anyone and everybody who's been iconic in their field has been here at the hotel. And I think we take it as as gratitude in many ways that we were allowed to be custodians of the building. We took upon the hotel back in 2004 when this was a managed hotel, and in 2012 when we bought the hotel from the organization we used to manage it for. Ever since then we have invested and reinvested into the building, so much so that we completed a £12 million renovation project in 2018, which was again a fantastic sort of moment in our history, purely because it has absolutely transformed every square inch of the building. We are quite fortunate, and I'll come to the point where you said challenges. We are quite fortunate that we were supported very kindly by Manchester City Council and all the leaders that go behind it, because they understood that we are a serious player. We're here to, if nothing else, but enhance the value of the Free Trade Hall and every other business that we work with, for which they were very kind in supporting any small amendments that we required to ensure that operations worked smoothly. So is there or was there a challenge? Perhaps not as much as what we had originally anticipated, but we certainly, like I said, to take it upon us to ensure that we respect the history of the building and respect the history of what it plays in Britain as well. I think what we have experienced in the last, particularly, I would say 6 months to begin with, because that's when I think post-COVID really the world opened up to a certain extent, at least England and the UK opened up in the last 6 months. What we experienced initially, that people who were coming into our hotel wanted to experience everything. Every single element of an experience, what I would call it, and quite rightly so. We are quite lucky. We have these amazing facilities at the hotel. We've got the library here, a Peter Street kitchen across, and so much so that we've got this beautiful spa downstairs as well, which I hope you took a moment to enjoy yourself too. Pre-pandemic, I think the take-up on each of these assets were fairly limited to a certain number of audience, but today what we experienced was pretty much majority of our guests want to touch one or the other asset of our building over and above just merely staying at the hotel, which I think was phenomenal, because ultimately if you just remove these other assets, which we would call as the heart and soul of the building, then you're effectively staying in a medium tier hotel, because a bedroom around the world is a bedroom, and it's very difficult then for the hotel and for the teams to be able to justify the value that we create in terms of the overall experience, and then subsequently be able to charge what we would like our customers to pay to be able to survive and enhance the experience. So that certainly post-pandemic we have experienced is quite remarkable, which is great. I think and I'll go back again, our experience of lately has been that if you do something and you do something extremely well, people are prepared to pay the premium that you want them to pay to experience that. So it goes back to the whole value-based analysis, right? If you're offering value, people don't mind paying 20, 30, 40% more than what probably you would have normally charged. But it's important to ensure that you're doing that in a very good manner, and doing it consistently. So if you do that, you'll protect those margins that you would aspire to. Going into what we have experienced, again, going into the territory of takeaways, or for that matter, vouchers here, there, etc. Vouchers are fine; they're much easier. It's technology driven, and you can come and experience it in the form that it truly is meant to be for. But other sort of, I suppose, the smaller wins perhaps require a lot of effort for a very little return, and in many cases jeopardizes your focus on the overall objective of offering remarkable experiences to individuals. I think that if you're at the top end of the market, and if you focus your attention and mindset just to that, everything else usually takes care of itself.